Sanya Sugagaki. Today's lesson is Sanya Sugagaki, the wind in the bamboo trees. It's called the Three Valleys. Sanya, Three Valleys. Three Valleys is a very mysterious term, and as it is, this music comes from Zen Buddhism, and Zen is basically based on the Tao, the book of the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. So it's the oldest of the four Chinese classics. I would recommend finding the version that you like. It's one of the most translated books in the world. So getting back to the valley, what are these three valleys, and what is Sugagaki? Well, Sugagaki is a place in Japan, but its origins, it's not really so clear. And the three valleys, that's also not so clear. This happens with very old music. But let me get right down to the mystery. I would recommend buying this book and looking into what this mystery is all about. The breath of life moves through a deathless valley of mysterious motherhood, which conceives and bears a universal seed, the seeming world never to end, breath from men to draw on as they will, and the more they take of it, the more that remains. On to Sanya Sugagaki. Here's the notation. So take a screenshot of this and on with the lesson. So this is level 1 in Shakuhachi. So I just have to assume that you know the notes and you can find your way around the flute. Here's what's going on with this piece that makes it so tricky. It's that it really requires you listening carefully to your pitch, raising and lowering your head to the right degree. It starts with an oo and a low octave. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to turn around. And you can watch my head movement. So now that first phrase, there's a pullback, hiko, pullback, that's that character, and then the dasho is push out. So it's pull back your chin, push out your chin. And so watch the dots and the timing. So I'm going to point it out with the chopstick as I play this. The very first note, you can see there's a 4. You trap air with the 4. Hear that nice clean sound? That's how you can tell you've really trapped the air nicely. There's also the repeat of the thumb. You want to do that precisely. And so this piece is a repetitive type of melody. It goes over and over again. It works like a chant. So chants are very common in Buddhism, but melodies are not so common. And this is a chant-like melody. It's a rhythmical type of meditation. It still is a Zen meditation, but it's got rhythm and it's a little lighter in feeling. So we're going to trap air with the very first note and then watch the thumb repeat and watch the head angle change. Now, the su, there's a 2, very fast striking of the 2. Once again, there's the sound. Now that Nyashi, in this case, the oo that follows it in the next phrase, the note is on the left, the beat is on the left. So what you want to do is sort of cut that Nyashi rather than trail it nicely. You want to cut it. So now I put in the trapped air again for this oo. So what's going on in this notation is, at the beginning of the piece, there's a lot of information, and then as you go on to the piece, this information becomes standard for all the phrases. So what's a little tricky, and the reason why I'm pointing it out as I'm playing this, is so that you can see that the dasho and the hiku and the nyatari, the repeat, it's all spelled out. But when you get further in the piece, it's not spelled out anymore, but you'll notice that I'm playing it. So the first two phrases I'm going to play once again. Now I call it a phrase because there's the breath mark there, and that's the horizontal line right here. So now with that breath mark, they are really good to take them at that position, but if you need some in between, that's okay. But it does kind of help you understand the phrasing of this piece. So I'm going to play the first two phrases, or the first two breaths, so to speak, and then there's the bracket that begins. So that bracket is a section that will be repeated. So I will play into that bracket area, go up to the high octave, and then reach to the end of the bracket, and then repeat that bracket area. So that last Nayashi, I played it with a fade out, and that's because it's held longer, because the following oo in the next phrase, the beat is on the right, so it's actually a little bit of a longer Nayashi, so don't abbreviate that. So now, one thing to keep in mind is that your flute, you'll have to play it the way you need to play it to get that note, and the way you bend your head could be differently than the one. I may have to go way down like this because maybe my bore is wide. Here's the bore, the opening. That requires maybe more movement, but yours might be an easier flute to play, or maybe a harder flute to play. I hope not. We'll give you an idea of the head up and the head down, and in theory, it's pivoting right about here. Instead of the flute moving up and down, it's pivoting. So your neck is here, and there's the pivot. So now, I am going to play the next phrase. So that section we play once, and then it's followed by two more bracketed sections which are played twice. And another thing to notice is the third line over, there's a little swoop, and what I did, the swoop between the oo and the re. So that's how it's written, but if you create that dip, that's the proper way to do it. So sometimes these little swoops aren't even indicated. So now this music was notated by Koto in Kyoto, and this was written out for Ronnie Seldin, my teacher. So he, in a kind manner, gave us a lot of information in the score. So now there's a simpler score that is available. His son Yodo too standardized this, and so made it a little easier to see with less markings. And I don't know about you, but most of us don't read kanji, and a lot of these characters you only learn by somebody pointing to it and says this means pull your head and this means push your chin out. So because of that, it can become very cluttered. Getting back to what's the real melody here, here's the real melody. If I take out those ornaments, so there's a lot less there. See, when we put all those ornaments in, so there's a lot more in there, which makes this a tricky piece. So, but here we are, and you're still with me in this video, so good. Okay, thanks for hanging in there. So now I'm going to go on to the next bracketed area. So we'll start with the sure. And now we have another area that gets repeated. And maybe to speed this video up, in teaching you them, I will just play them once. But before I do, I just want to tap this out. This is the main pattern for the piece. And so in Shakuhachi, we sing and tap this melody out. Right, left, right, and left, and right, and left, and ooh, 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 ee, ooh, re, to, re, ooh, re. It's a little tricky to get that in your mind because this is a feel, and that's a matter of repetition, and it's good to have a teacher. So I will keep moving. Of course, you can just play this video over again, and that's what I'm kind of intending here. And in a lesson, your teacher will just really have to kind of let it seep in and keep doing it over and over again until you finally get it. So the shakuhachi is hard, but it's done step by step, and so it becomes quite possible. So now I'm going to pick up at that bracket, the second bracket. Then we'll repeat that, and then the next bracket after that. The next bracket. It's better to play this slow when you're learning it, but this is how it's coming out right now. So what is the feeling? It's the wind gusts and fades and gusts and fades, and but there's a certain rhythm to that, and so this rhythm is quite beautiful. So I'm going to play now to the end of the piece. You can see that the very last line I slow down. It's sort of a gradual slowdown to a second rate. It's comfortable to end the piece. Let me just point out two things at the end. So that's a little tricky. Sometimes it's a compositional device to have something a little surprising happening at the end, and that kind of perks you up. It also makes you a little more aware that something's happening, and what's happening is the piece is ending, but it's also slowing down. Trap air, and then shave with this finger, and raise it up. So now that's Su. It's a Su-karu, so your head is coming up. So that's something to watch out for, because we've been falling into these nice rhythms up until this point, and that's something a little different. Now, the second thing I wanted to say about the last line is, well, there's that beautiful ending where it goes to the low octave U at the end. And so what I wanted to mention is that maybe prepare yourself, lick your lips, maybe take a deeper breath, and go for a very warm, full U sound. And then when you get to that re at the end, try to just trail it out as softly as you can. And if your mouth's a little dry, of course, it's harder. So this is what Shakuhachi is all about, I guess. And that's what we're going for. Get it sometimes, and sometimes we don't. Thanks for staying with me in this lesson. And there are more lessons, and some of them are easier and some are harder, okay? This is Sanya Sugagaki, and I'm Daniel Nyohaku Soergel. Thanks for watching it all the way to the end. Good luck with your shakuhachi playing.